Hello, everyone. It is day 22, first day of the fourth week, almost a month, and we're closing in. This is 100 Days of Code with Leon Andersen. Leon, how are you doing?
Doing pretty great. I had more time today. I had like 2.5 hours. Um, did a whole section on DOM events, and that was pretty fun. I'm not sure though if those will be actually used. To me, some of the stuff seemed pretty useful, um, but at this point, I'm never sure. Like, am I going to use this or not? Is this important or not? Like, um, so that's a bit, um, yeah, confusing sometimes because I never know what you will tell me afterwards. Like, if I will use it or not. But yeah, basically, um, events um, where you have like where you assign an where you do like the add event listener to a variable to an element, and where you basically listen for any kind of interaction with the website, which are called events. So, for example, clicks or hover or button down or button up. Um, all these all kinds of motions basically, or controls that can be that can access or interact with the website or with a program, um, and then you basically, in the event listener, you have like the what event you're listening for, and then you insert a function that gets executed when that event is happening. And yeah, we built some random stuff like buttons where when I click them, the color of the background changes all the time, and like random little exercises like this. Many of those. Um, then we also had the keyword "this" again in combination with events, and the use case was that you can create functions that you can reuse for multiple event listeners. And if you insert this as insert the keyword "this" as the element of that function, then when it gets triggered by an event, it automatically gets assigned to the to the um, to the elements that are part of the events, or the object that you are listening to for an event. Not sure if that makes sense to how I said it, but and this way you can have a function defined and then use it for multiple event listeners, so you don't always have to copy paste them in all different um, um, event listeners. Did that make sense?
Yes, 100%. Event listeners is something that um, is definitely relevant. So, because the API and the browser is a little different from what you're learning, but on the server, it's almost exactly the one that you're learning. And while like most apps don't need it, like if you really want to go deep on the server, which I know that you might want to do, then you'll probably come across this one. So that this is just to answer your question in the beginning. Like event listeners are definitely very useful code, very useful concept.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun as well. So, and I really like I at first I was like with the whole DOM thing now. At first, I was a little okay. What is this? What is this all about? And now I'm starting to get a little feeling of like how how JavaScript interacts with HTML, and it's interesting. It's fun. And yeah, we looked at keyboard events as well. So, for example, if you want to program like some games where you use keys of the keyboard to navigate or to have commands, but also just for forms, when you're typing into a form, then you can also this also no, I'm not sure if that's keyboard events, to be honest, but I mean it's using keys, but it's not all of them are. It's not always keyboard events when you're using forms, when you're typing in forms. But anyways, and then we had event objects, which is, as far as I understand, where you use, for example, e as the variable or as a parameter in a function inside of an event listener. And then you can use the parameter put inside of a prevent default function, or to use a prevent default method on the element of e. So you're using the event as an element, and then you can what are you demonstrating there? Synthetic base events.
I'm just showing the event that you're talking about just in the React way. So what you're already seeing here is the little spoiler. This is how you do it with React, which is what you're going to learn soonish later in the course. But it's exactly the same event that you're talking about, which is being looked out here.
Got it. And yeah, if you use, for example, then the parameter e for an event, and you can use it then as a prevent default with the prevent default method, basically. Just as an example, you can do stuff like when you have a form, you make sure that with the prevent default method, that when the element gets triggered inside of a form, as far as I understand it, usually the default is that it's going to, that the form is submitting the input to some other destination. So like you have like a folder or I don't know, server destination linked to that, and with the prevent default, you make sure that you basically the page doesn't get changed, and you stay on the same page, and something else happens instead. And with that, you can do a little bit more complex things with forms, basically. Did that make sense? How I described it?
That is almost correct. But I would just keep that basic understanding that we have right now, because in the future we're going to go into that a lot more deeper. Probably not in this course. And also the thing of, like, I've used event.prevent default for years without properly understanding it. So it's something that you don't even need to necessarily understand in order to use it correctly. You just need to remember to put it like we have it here in the beginning of your function body. But we're going to look at
Yes.
it in a lot more detail, and you're really gonna understand it from top to bottom, through and through, once we get there. But for now, the understanding that you gave was perfect for, and then completely appropriate for the level that you're at.
Got it. Okay, that's great. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm explaining stuff in a way where it makes sense, but yeah, okay, that's awesome to hear. And so do I understand it right that especially forms will be used as well a lot in the future? Is that something that
Well, yes. Well, let me answer it, the other way around. No and yes. So the first you're going to use a little bit more forms. Then you're probably going to stop using them, and then we're going to circle all the way back, and you're going to start using them again.
okay, that's interesting. Got it.
So basically, what this cryptic message means right now, when you're not using React, forms are pretty important. Once you start using React, and especially in like the way that most people use React, they don't use a lot of forms. They usually just ignore them. Um, but actually, forms are very good for various reasons, especially for accessibility, so that people who are relying on a screen reader and stuff can use the website without problems. But the thing was just because the way that React works, a lot of people stopped using it, and you're going to come across a lot of content that's not using forms. But then eventually, when we get to the latest versions of the newest frameworks, Remix and Next.js, they both started to use forms again, and leverage even the default behavior of forms. So when you use forms with these technologies, you're not even going to prevent the default because you want the default to be happening. But yeah, that's just a little spoiler for the road ahead, and you definitely want to go full circle. So you want to understand why people stopped using forms and started using prevent default, and then you also later want to understand again why people stopped using not using forms or started using forms again and stopped to preventing the default again. But don't worry, like just take it
Yes.
slow. Follow the journey from Coach Stefano. We're definitely gonna get there.
Yeah, that's awesome to get a little bigger picture overview in between to have some context about the journey, about how to contextualize the things that I'm learning, and yeah, sounds great. Makes me even more curious. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that event objects can be used to identify what event actually like for example the line that is highlighted there, console.log event, this way you can get a console log about what the event is that you're working with. So you can use the event object to get more information about the event. That's pretty interesting, what I found.
Yes.
And yeah, input and change events. Yeah, exactly. So there was the issue that change events in forms are when you are triggered by the event listener when you type something in and then leave the form with the mouse, for example, like when you set some when you click somewhere else. So this way you only get it only gets triggered, like you only get the value inside of a form after it's after it has changed. And with the input event you can get real-time values, like you can transfer what is inside of a what is written inside of a input field, for example, it gets, for example, you can log that, or you can define another object, for example, in H1, you can define the inner text of that to be the value of what you are typing inside of an input. So this way, you can, yeah, exactly what you're showing there. This way you can do stuff like preview of a post that you're posting in real time, and for example, if you if you're putting in a username, that was an exercise we had there. At first, the heading was insert or enter new username, and then as soon as you started typing, it changed to welcome, comma, and then whatever you were typing. So you directly had a like welcome to your new chosen username. That was looked nice. I mean, to be honest, I prefer interacting with minimalistic websites, but sometimes, yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be use cases for this, and yeah. Put event. Oh yeah, and then we looked at event bubbling and event delegation. So event bubbling is when you have an event listener that is, or when you have event listeners to multiple elements that are nested inside of each other. Then, for example, if you have an on-click, or when you're listening for click events of an ally and also of the section that the ally is in, and I mean the ally, the UL, and then the section that it's in. And for example, a click on the ally changes the background color, but then a click on the section hides the ally, or hides the object, or hides the section. Then for a very short moment the background color is changed, but at the same time it's hidden, so you don't actually see what happens, because it's already like it's basically conflicting event functions. And to prevent that, like and the order is always like from the smaller, like from the inner object to outer objects. It's like a cascade as well, and in order to prevent that, you write into the element, into the event listener that you want to be the one that is focused on, or the one that is executed and shouldn't have conflicts with others. You can write event dot stop propagation, and this way the element or the object where you're at is the last object in the cascade that gets affected by the event. So this way you can help to solve conflicts between different event functions. Did that make sense?
Yes, 100%. I'm gonna code up a quick example here for the React way of doing it. And don't worry if you don't completely get that yet, uh, because it's just fine if your brain and is slowly confronted with the way of doing it in React, even though you might not understand it yet, it will make it easier for you later to recognize the syntax when you see it just because you've been exposed to it a lot more. Um, well, and yeah, I'm just gonna try and show exactly an example similar to the one that you described. So let's see if this works. Was it while you were talking? So let's see. So we have a parent component here, and we can click on one of the child components here. And even though we click the child component, the parent component knows which of the childs has been clicked because the event is bubbling it.
The event is what?
The event is bubbling up basically.
Bubbling up. Yeah. So,
So
but
basically you click a child here and the event is bubbling up into the parent and the parent can then check from the child the ID and yeah, that's just event bubbling in a nutshell.
is it also bubbling up the if the parent element has wait. So the parent element in this case is the div? Yes,
Yes,
okay. And okay, I thought that you would have to have the you would have to have an event listener for the child components as well.
you can, but the point here is right that even though, so first of all, you said the parent component div in this example, everyone everything is a div, but the bubbling here happens because we click a child component, but even though we click the child component, the click event is bubbling up and getting called from div on click handler. Let's see, I think we can even stop it. Click handler here. We'll do this. I don't know if this works. I think it works, but it cannot come with event dot stop propagation. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, now the parent on click handler is no longer activated
Okay.
because we're stopping the event from propagating up. Here,
And
yeah.
yeah, okay, got it. That makes sense, yeah.
Can you see the alert, by the way, on the screen share?
If I can see what?
And the alert that the browser throws?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should have not coded it like this then, let's code it like this. At this right here. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. So that makes this example a little harder to understand for the screen share. And if we note this, okay, now let's do it again. So right now we're not stopping the event propagation and we're clicking a child element, but as you can see, the parent elements on click handler gets triggered because the click element bubbles up to the outer parent element and this function is getting executed. But if we stop this right here and let's reload this here and now we click, no, nothing happens. And I promise, let me hold the click thing, the mouse to the mic. Or as you can hear, or hopefully it's doing nothing even though I'm clicking.
Got it. Yes. And so this way you could assign an event to the child as well without conflicting with the parent.
Exactly, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And then we also had the delegation, event delegation, which was basically that in inside of an event listener, you can do like event.target and then you insert the name of basically no, not you can after target you can use any sort of method that no, wait, target click function.
So Actually, event delegation and bubbling are super related. So as you can see here, you could also say the child elements delegate the handling of clicking them to the parent. Because the child is clicked, the child does nothing, and then the parent handles the event. You could say there's event delegation going on because the clicking of the child element is delegated to the parent element.
And event target ID. That's delegation. Like the target is the delegation, right? The delegation method.
No, delegation just means basically that the handling of the event is delegated to a different element. It has nothing to do with accessing the target per se. Or I could remove
Okay.
this line. I'm just doing it to demonstrate that we can detect which of the elements has been clicked. But we could also do something completely different here, like just maybe console log, console.log. Something has been clicked, and it's still event delegation, right? Because still the handling of the event is delegated to the parent.
Okay. So target is basically very specific delegation.
Target, no, the event or target is just that the target that has actually been clicked. Let's look at it. Event dot target, event dot target. Whenever you have an element and whenever you have an event, the event has a target because the property, what target basically points to here is the most basic element that has triggered the event. Right? It's similar to how arrays have a dot length property. All events have a dot target property. And when we click it here, you can see it is actually this child that has been clicked.
Yes.
And
Okay,
then
that's
the dot
interesting
ID is
because
just because the child has an ID. So we are just accessing something from the target.
got it. And yeah, it's interesting that cold, like the video on delegation was basically all about the target thing. Like that's where it was introduced and the main use of it. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I think we've seen this now like a couple of times that code introduces something, but then links it so heavily to the example that it can be easily confused that it's only applicable for this example. I think we had that now like 2 or 3 times already. But that's also great when we talk about it, so I can help you clarify these things that it's not really related to the specific example implementation that code chose, but more like the general idea behind the thing that he's explaining. Like Cole usually
Got it.
chooses just the most convenient way to show it to you. And then usually he doesn't show it to you different ways. And I think that's also great for these streams for you and for anyone else who's watching and who might also be following Cole's course, which by the way, the course we're talking about is this one. It's one of the best courses for beginners. If you are thinking about getting into programming, definitely check the course out. It's just insanely good. But the thing is, one of the advantages of these streams for you and anyone else who's watching is we often show you like another example. And now you have 2 examples, and that will help your brain to separate the higher level theory behind what code is actually explaining and what is just an implementation detail of the specific example.
Got it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna rewatch this video tomorrow. Yeah, and that was it for the day. But I have to, I'd like to share a little insight or a little experience. The coding exercises this time, like the main the main issues I had were just syntax confusions from my side, and yeah, it's an interesting experience to wonder, like, no, like everything makes sense, like why is it why is it not working? And then, oh yeah, I put um, the variable I'm referring to inside of inside of instead of quotations, so it was accessed as a string and not as a variable, and stuff like that. And it's like happens from time to time. Then it's a funny, um, yeah, funny puzzle.
That's great. That means the grammar module in your brain is slowly picking up the logic behind it. And now you're only making like minor grammar mistakes. So it's basically like you've already understood that if you want to say the element, if you want to say the elephant was going to stand on a candy bar, like you know that you want to express it, you know the logic, but maybe you're not sure about the grammar yet. So you're saying the elephant going was to stand on the candy bar. Yeah, I should have picked such a difficult sentence for my example. But my point is,
Yes,
the grammar module in your brain is starting to kick in, and you now only need to basically flush out the syntax. But it seems like you're slowly understanding the logic behind how you are going to express your ideas.
yes. I mean, the exercises were a bit easier, but in the section, but maybe they were easy because I understand more. I don't know, but it's fun. That's it's fun, and it feels like I'm making progress, and that's most important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I think that has been it for today. For those who are watching, tune in every day. We're every day here. If you want to learn how to code, this is the perfect time to do it because you can do it together with Leon Andersen. You can also just tune in every day and compare what you have learned. And by the way, if you're at a different point in your coding journey, you can still always feel free to leave your questions in the comments. We're gonna answer them on stream on the fly if they're not too big, because I'm sure similar how you are all profiting from Leon's questions, he could profit from your questions. And as always, what we preach here every day on the stream is just getting a little bit of coding exercise every day, even if it's just 10 minutes. Just do it. If it's obviously it's better if it's 3 to 8 hours, but keep that habit alive. Just make sure that coding is now part of you and you're coding every day. You're talking to machines every day in the native language of machines, which is in this case, JavaScript could be any language, but JavaScript is a great language for you to pick up as your first language. And thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been day 22 of 100 Days of Code. This has been the Code Call with
Leon Andersen and my mentor,
Adolf Mill from 10x Dev. Thanks everyone. See you tomorrow.
See you. Bye bye.